Happening now on Grid Tonight. Busch Motorsports has been sold to Spire Motorsports. What are some reasons why Busch decided to move on from its highly successful NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series organization? Lucas Grassi and Mahindra Racing have parted ways. Where will Grassi land in 2024? And who are Mahindra's two newest drivers? The 2024 NTT IndyCar Series schedule has been released. What are the positives and negatives on next year's calendar? Hello to all. Welcome to Grid Tonight, your weekly motorsports news program. I'm Kobe Lambert from the Podium Finish. With me is Joshua Birch, Ben Snyder, and Matt White from Grid Endurance Performance Index. We encourage everyone to comment in the chat below, ask questions, and consider supporting us through the Super Chat feature. Josh, take it away with our top story this evening.
Thank you, Kobe. Just like I said, that my green screen hasn't broken. It's Motegi's green stripe. So before everyone goes, oh, your green screen's broken, it's not broken. Okay, sending shockwaves through the NASCAR community, Kyle Busch sold his Truck Series team, Busch Motorsports, to Spire Motorsports. Now, including the assets of his Rowdy manufacturing chassis building operation and CNC machine shop. Now, this major transaction also includes the 77,000 square foot facility that houses KBM and Rowdy Manufacturing in Mooresville, North Carolina. Now, KBM will go down in NASCAR history as one of the most successful Truck Series teams. And of course, since its debut in 2010, they've gone to victory lane 100 times, scoring 14 wins and 2 championships as well, with Eric Jones in 2015 and Christopher Bell in 2017. And of course, in 2014, which is the most in a single season with those 14 wins. Now, as you can see on the screen, Busch said he's never imagined winning 100 truck races with 18 different drivers and racing alongside many of the drivers he mentored in the Cup Series. In regard to why he decided to sell KBM, Busch said his life is currently in a different place now, with his family growing, joining a new team in the Cup Series, and helping his son's racing career come along. While he'll miss being a team owner in NASCAR and working with KBM employees, Busch wants to spend more time with his family and his number 8 team at Richard Childress Racing. Now, in the end, he realizes this is a tough decision, but understands that it is the correct decision for him, and the graphic courtesy there of Kyle Busch Motorsports. Ben, Matt, welcome to you as well, Ben, on the show. Is it a complete shock that Kyle Busch sold KBM to Spire, and how strange will it be not seeing the team anymore after this season?
Well, it's a surprise. It's not a total shock. What I'm totally shocked about is that a Twitter account with a name that I hesitate to repeat on the air and on the campus of a Christian college building here apparently is now the top rumor mill Twitter account in NASCAR at the moment. I mean, I went back and looked at some of these tweets. They called Legacy Motor Club switching to Toyota. They've put a couple of other pieces out there that seem to be in the works and trending in the right direction. So credit to whoever's behind this account. I guess they've got the inside scoop, and we're going to have to start paying more attention to, again, I can't repeat the account, but anybody that's on NASCAR Twitter knows who I'm talking about at the moment. But regardless, let's talk about Kyle Busch Motorsports, because as you mentioned, Josh, this is one of the top teams in the entire history of a NASCAR Camping World Truck Series to Gander Truck Series to now Craftsman Truck Series once again. Ever since Kyle started his organization, you only need to look at the history of the number of drivers that have driven for this team and what they've gone on to accomplish in their careers, all the wins and championships that this team has celebrated over the years. It is certainly going to be missed. And it's big shoes to fill for Spire and whoever's going to be sitting in these trucks here in 2024 and beyond. In terms of why I'm a little bit surprised, I'm surprised with the timing a little bit just because Kyle just said, 1 or 2 months ago, that he has these ambitions to kind of retire in the Truck Series, to maybe run for a truck championship, be the first driver to win a title in all 3 series. Brexton's obviously, as you mentioned, very busy with his own racing career right now. This seems like the perfect place for him to get started in his NASCAR National Touring Series career. I saw some people starting to get a little concerned for Brexton. I want to remind people Brexton is 8 years old, I think. So he's got a lot of time, 7-8 years at least, before we start talking about him in an ARCA car or a truck or whatever the case may be at this level. So who knows? I mean, a lot can change in 7 or 8 years. Maybe Kyle Busch starts to, get the itch to be an owner again and maybe buys back into the Spire team or whatever the case may be. I'm sure Brexton's going to have those opportunities, as Kyle will certainly as well. But in terms of Kyle Busch Motorsports, it is going to be very, very strange to me not seeing that name in the Truck Series in 2024 and beyond. And we have a comment from Matthew Owens. Good to see you in the chat room, Matthew. It's a huge shock to me. I really thought it would be there at least long enough, there you go, for Brexton to get a ride with the team and for Kyle to race against and with Brexton in those trucks. But again, we've got 7 or 8 years at the minimum before we start having those conversations. And Brad Keselowski Racing just shut down, 6 years ago at the end of 2017? Brad's already back in ownership with the RFK program in the Cup Series. So who knows what the future holds for Kyle Busch and his tenure at RCR and in the Truck Series going forward. Who knows if he's going to continue to do the 5 races a year. He just started doing that in Xfinity this year after saying he was initially going to be done after he got his 100 wins as a driver. We don't know what's going to happen. That's the constant revolving changes going on in this sport. Their teams come and go. I think Charlie Krall, the ARCA PR director, tweeted that earlier today. You got to remember GMS is stepping away at the end of this year. It's going to be very weird not seeing either of those teams on the grid in the Truck Series in 2024. But now the teams that are going to define the era of the 2020s, I suppose, are coming in to take their place, and so on it'll go until the end of time.
Yeah, good evening, first of all, guys. Sorry, finger trouble at my end now if I disappear on you. But I'm back. Like Ben, not shocked, but a little, I don't know, maybe not surprised, because I seem like we were thinking this may happen this time last year when Kyle was in the contract, will he or won't he, with Gibbs, and eventually jumped ship, as we know, and signed for RCR. And there was a lot of talk about what would happen to KBM then. I guess if Kyle had stayed as a Toyota driver, maybe this wouldn't happen. But it is a shame to see one of the big names in the series not going away, but moving sideways rather than disappearing completely. I'll Spire the new Rick Ware. Where do they keep getting their money from? But as you said, Ben, and I saw that you tweeted about that Twitter account, and I also went back through the tweets over the last couple of months. I was like, oh wow, this guy has got his fingers well and truly on the pulse, whoever he is and where he's getting his news from. So that's something we have to keep abreast of. Could he be the new Adam Stern? But yeah, shame to see this happening. Kyle, obviously a stalwart of the lower categories, trucks and Xfinity, as you said, for a very, very long time. And it is going to be interesting to see how this kind of transpires over the next couple of years and which way the Truck Series goes with it.
I can just imagine NASCAR right now going around hunting down whoever is owning that Twitter account as well. Now, of course, Spire Motorsports released a statement saying they have tremendous respect for Kyle and Samantha Busch, their staff, and everything they've built at KBM over the years. They've created a record-setting, championship-winning race team. Those accomplishments can't be overstated. The sale of GBM might have caused some folks off guard, as Ben and Matt have said as well, because Busch has openly talked about having this team to continue long-term. And, of course, as we've already said tonight, have his son, Brexton, driving for KBM when he turns 16 years old. That dream obviously isn't happening now. When the 2024 Truck Series season opens at Daytona, it'll certainly feel strange racing on the high banks without KBM and GMS Racing, as we've discussed tonight. With 2 championship-winning organizations leaving, does it feel like a changing of the guard in the Truck Series? And which teams could step up to fill this void?
Yeah, it really does. 2 of the biggest names in the championship. This would be like, I'm just trying to think of something similar. Andretti and Shank going away from IndyCar, for instance, just deciding gone, not interested anymore. But yeah, who's going to come up and fill the void? Well, this new team, obviously, the KBM equipment is not slow. So if they can take hold of what they get through the sale and continue to push forward with it, then they'll be strong, depending on what their driver lineup will be, obviously, for next year and in years to come. The Truck Series seems to be a bit of a moving feast at the moment. It's been stagnant with a lot of those teams at the front for, obviously, the drivers have the turnover, but the teams have been pretty much similar for quite some time. Could this be a bit of a new dawn for the Truck Series, which, of course, a lot of people have kind of had their noses up about fairly recently for various things and schedules and drivers coming and going and now teams coming and going. Could this be a bit of a refresh that the Truck Series needs going forward?
And Joe Samaniego says, didn't see it coming and was thinking if Kyle was, I guess, in it for long terms, move KBM to Cup. I wasn't necessarily thinking that. I was thinking maybe back to the Xfinity Series. I don't know that Kyle ever has been on the record stating that he has Cup Series ownership ambitions. I know he did start in then Nationwide Series program for a couple of years, didn't have as much success there, so scaled it back to just for trucks. But who knows what he would have done? Maybe he'll invest in RCR one day, and go down the path of Brad Keselowski and investing in a Cup ownership program. We'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, Matt, I mean, it would really be like, if you want to make a Formula One comparison, Mercedes and Alpine both going away the same year. I mean, this is not just two teams with no history or no name recognition going away at the same time. And it's just like, oh, whatever. These are two top teams that are, have very solid bases in this series and, have competed obviously for wins and championships, have very storied histories. And it, like we said, it's just going to be very, very strange at the start of the 2024 season, knowing that neither one of them is going to be on the grid. It's a very strange feeling. I'm not sure it's quite sunk in yet. And but at the same time, it's going to be an opportunity for some existing truck teams and some new truck teams to come in and acquire some of those race wins and championship glory. So we'll see who rules the 2020s, like I was saying earlier, in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series.
Now, given Spire's new sponsorship deal with Gamebridge, Marco Andretti's Mid-Ohio start with them, and Michael Andretti's continued desire to start up a NASCAR program in the future, do you think Spire's new purchase could eventually lead to Andretti Global in NASCAR? And I'll throw in a tail end on that as well, about Andretti getting in with Formula One at the moment. Is that their priority? Is there room for more?
Well, this same account tweeted on August 17th, also hearing there's a strong possibility that we see Marco Andretti full-time in trucks next season. So I guess take that for what it's worth. I don't know, man. I mean, it just seems like there's too many dots to connect here, that you've got the Gamebridge connection, obviously, with Andretti having, a massive sponsorship deal with them and now buying into Spire with the Gamebridge side of things there. I mean, I guess if you can't get on the F1 grid, you might as well go NASCAR racing, right? Maybe that's what Michael Andretti's thinking there. Although I did mention on the Encore show as well, I guess 3 of the 4 new applicants have been rejected. Andretti's the only one left standing. So we'll see if the FIA is only 75% corrupt or 100% and doesn't let any newcomers into the sport that, have the means and capacity to be able to compete at the top level. But if they can't do that, Michael wanted to be on the grid 6 months from now, I think 2024 was his original goal. That's obviously not going to happen. I think it's going to be 25 at the earliest. So in the meantime, if he can't do that, if it proves to be too much effort or too ridiculously expensive, maybe go buy into some NASCAR racing and maybe we'll see Andretti Global over here. I think you guys can correct me if I'm wrong. Do you guys remember the rumors around 2013 when Dodge was going away or losing Penske, and there were rumors as to whether or not, I mean, they unveiled a Gen 6 car. Obviously, we never saw it, but maybe Andretti was going to come in and be the factory Dodge team, and that's how I think Kurt Busch and Michael Andretti originally got connected. And obviously, he ran the 500 with them in 2014. So they've kind of flirted with NASCAR before. It'd be interesting to see if they're flirting with them again here. But, again, there's just so many dots to connect. I've floated out in our chat here. Maybe this is finally how Kyle Busch gets to do a double, because Andretti maybe buys into Spire. Spire buys Kyle Busch Motorsports. Maybe Kyle goes into a business partnership with them. He gets connected with the Andrettis. I guess the only problem is the Chevy Honda conflict now that he's driving a Chevy in the Cup Series. But Jimmy Johnson was able to get around that clearly, right? Because he drove for Grassi and they run Hondas. So if Jimmy can get away with it, I assume Kyle Busch is high enough up there that maybe they'd let him run a Honda engine at Indianapolis. But who knows what's going to happen? There's so many different things going on right now with Spire and buying the Live Fast charter for 20 times the price that they bought the Furniture Row charter, and Furniture Row was the defending Cup champions, and no disrespect to Live Fast, but they're, perennial back markers. That should tell you how the charter market is going in terms of what those things are going for now. It's going to be a wild ride these next couple of years, is seeing all these different pieces falling into place. It's an exciting time, I think, despite the sadness that I think we're feeling with Kyle Busch no longer having that Truck Series team. It has been such a consistent top competitor in the truck series, GMS going away as well. It's a great opportunity for some new teams and some new blood to come into the truck series. And maybe the greatest name in racing history, arguably, Andretti's going to be a part of that. Who knows what's going to happen? Joe Samaniego saying, I think this is a path for Andretti to soon acquire Spire to become Andretti, but waiting for F1 first. I don't know if Andretti would acquire Spire outright, but certainly being business partners and having that partnership from a NASCAR side of things, I could definitely see. I mean, the Gamebridge sponsorship alone, I think people were starting to connect those dots well before this Kyle Busch Motorsports news today. We'll have to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, and to that point also, Andretti Galactic, as it should be called, rather than global, because they seem to be everywhere. They're tied up with Wayne Taylor in IMSA. They're tied up with Zach Brown and the Walkinshaws in Supercars for WAU. Bathurst is only a week and a half away, just the first mention of that on the show tonight. They've got this, collaborative ownership already down pat in a couple of paddocks already. And to the F1 point, Michael's just going, look what I've got, all of this stuff. Why wouldn't you let me in? And it's just adding to the list. The old lap time chart on Top Gear where they used to stick the magnet. It's like that. There's another one, and there's another one, and I've got this now as well. And still, Mohammed bin Salem and Stefano Domenicali are turning a blind eye, or whatever. But we're interested to see how this goes forward.
I thought Ben Solium was open to the idea. It's everybody that Ben Solium's got to convince.
I'm so confused with it, Ben. I don't know who's coming and going on this at all, as Josh has got the cool wall now behind him.
No, brick wall. That's what it's like getting the new F1 teams in. Brick wall. They don't want to. The only reason they are saying that it was there is because, as you said, Ben, Mohammed bin Salem says, well, yeah, we'll open it up. We'll get new teams in F1. Yeah, that's what got him in trouble last year. The FIA are not the owners of Formula One. That's FOM. Sure. And the FIA regulate the sport. They've got no control on the Concord Agreement, no control about who actually participates in Formula One, whether it be Ferrari, Mercedes, anybody like that. That's all down to FOM. So by them opening up this process, it was a giant middle finger to them, and it got Mohammed bin Salem in trouble, and he had to step away from running Formula One from the FIA point of view. So he's a president with no power.
I'm just most upset that Gunther Steiner's so staunchly against it, because Gunther Steiner, man who was charged with leading an American team onto the grid as the 11th team, now opposes man charged with leading an 11th team, American team onto the grid. Like, it's this exact same situation. People forget that Manor Racing still existed when Haas came in 2016. They were the 11th team. What's different about the situation now from when Haas came in that you're so staunchly opposed to Andretti?
Because, as you said, they are the American team. They came in 2016. They had the struggle for a couple of years with Manor, and then Drive to Survive took off. It brought in the American market. Gunter became a household name, and Haas became a very popular team in America because of that. So they are the American team. They don't want Andretti coming in and taking away their popularity, because I guarantee you, Gene Haas in NASCAR, very popular. So everybody knows that if you bring in Andretti, a more famous name than Haas in America, guarantee you Haas, popularity gone, support gone. Everyone will go to Andretti.
I think they've jumped the shark already on that. I mean, the Mazepin deal, I think, was...
that killed it. Rich Energy killed it. Hang on a minute.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Connor Daly went on Dale Jr.'s podcast and said, look, I don't consider this to be an American team. They're biggest bases in the UK.
In Oxfordshire.
Yeah.
There it is. I got hang on.
Wow. Hello, Mr. Story, if you're watching.
Hang on a minute. Let me turn the green screen off because it's playing a thing in it. No, there we go. There it is. I got gifted 3 cans of this, and I've still got them as well. The original. It's
from a mountain bike company, is that right?
Yes, yeah. It says, but can you see that? Made in Austria. I wonder why.
You know what else is made in Austria?
I think, I don't know what you mean.
You want to beat Red Bull on and off the track, huh?
Red Bull. But I got gifted that. So I've got 3 of them, and they're on my wall. So they're on my mantelpiece. just alongside. And up here next to my television, I've got that piece of Danny Kvyat's car that broke off in Barcelona testing. Still don't know where that came from, and Red Bull is still looking for it. But yeah, just a little thing there about that's when it all went downhill for Haas in 2019. It was 19, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Totally with you, Joe. If they don't, I mean, after everything Michael's been through, he's met every call and every demand. They don't let him in. It's going to be incredibly disappointing, to say the least.
I reckon they will. They will. And as I say, crazy news about Spire Motorsports buying KBM Motorsports as well. Yeah, I think they'll let him in. They've got to. And I think if there's a nice tie-in that they'll get F1 and then they'll get NASCAR, and I think the Andretti Global really will become a global thing there, because they've already got Formula E, they've got they're coming into WEC, aren't they? Extreme E. So IMSA, yeah, it's just all working as a. I think they're up now. They're up there now with Ferrari, Mercedes, and that lot. And I think I like how it goes, because they're similar in my eyes to the McLarens, aren't they? So it works in terms of everywhere. Other than that topic, gents, all good.
Yeah.
Anything else? Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna head out. I think I was only here for the top story, but before I go, I'll give a couple of. I guess I'll give a hot and not here, since I'm not going to be around. So I meant to try to shout this out, my one shining moment on the Encore show Monday. But congratulations to Trayton Lapsevich on winning the NASCAR Pinty Series championship. I know we don't cover the Pinty Series as much or regularly on Encore, but I wanted to shout him out. Their season just came to an end this weekend and did it in style, winning the race and the championship. My nots, I think you guys are going to cover it a little bit later on. You know where I stand on the IndyCar schedule and the NBC broadcasting side of the schedule as well. Go watch those clips from the Encore show Monday night if you want my full thoughts on that, along with Brandon Crossland and Jackson Lambros. But in the meantime, thank you guys. Always a pleasure to join you on Grid Tonight, and I will talk to you soon.
Pleasure, Ben. Thank you very much for joining us. And I look forward to be back on the show soon as well on the live Encore. Okay, as Ben will disappear, Kobe will come back in and we'll get on to the next story, because in Formula E silly season news, a move that caught some off guard was Mahindra Racing and Lucas de Grassi agreeing to mutually part ways. Now, de Grassi only lasted at Mahindra for a single season, which was one of his worst in Formula E so far. He finished 15th in the standings, and Mahindra was second to last in the team's championship. Season 9 was quite an unusual spot for de Grassi to be in, because he's usually a consistent points finisher or a title threat. Now, during the season, he only earned 1 podium and 3 total points finish, the graphic courtesy there of Mahindra. Now, are you surprised to see de Grassi and Mahindra part ways, and how much do you think it has to do with the uncompetitive car they've had?
Yeah, I honestly didn't see this coming at all, but maybe we shouldn't be too surprised, because we know Lucas de Grassi has always been in competitive equipment in Formula E. So this past season was just a major shock to him, because he's not used to, not finishing in the points consistently, and we're used to de Grassi up there scoring points in most races, finishing on the podium, winning races, but he didn't even get to sniff the front of the grid much or at all this past season. So it was a very long season with Mahindra. They didn't really bring the most competitive package this year. So I can imagine, how that could be frustrating for a driver who's used to mixing it up with the rest of the competitors, rather than just trying to extract the most you can out of the car and hope that someone has trouble so you can get a points finish. But I know we were going to talk about Sam Smith's article from the race in just a little bit, but Sam Smith hinted that de Grassi and the CEO of this team had some issues, that they weren't really getting along, and that can really go a long way in deciding to leave if you're not getting along with the top executives within the organization.
It all started so well, didn't it, for Mahindra? Josh, you'll remember back to Mexico at the start of last year. They were both up there, and maybe, this is a great move for Lucas. He's got the team built around him already. They're going to kick on. And that was it. We didn't see them at the front of the field for the entire year. They had some issues. I can't remember what race it was. They had to miss one, didn't they? I think it was Cape Town from memory. They had to miss with suspension issues.
They withdrew the car, didn't they?
Yeah, that's right. And it just one of those driver moves that we see from time to time, and it just didn't work for one of the stalwarts, probably the stalwart of Formula E since its,
Yeah, it was his
existence.
first race he missed. Yeah, he's done every one, but that one he missed.
The very first becomings of Formula E, even before they started racing, Lucas was there. Back in the early days, running around at Donington all the time in the test car, the old Spark. And he's obviously at the forefront of EV stuff with his other business ventures, let's say, in motoring. But yeah, it just hasn't worked for Mahindra, and they just had after that decent looking run at Mexico, they just had a terrible season after that.
Guys, Josh, hold on for a second. But correct me if I'm wrong. When Grassi signed with Mahindra, didn't they offer him an executive position within the team? And then when the new CEO come on board, that kind of got nixed.
Yeah, because Dilbag Gill was supposed to keep in, and then Mahindra sort of had a mutiny and threw him out. And it all changed just before Diriyah, didn't it? And by the time we got to Diriyah,
January, February time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Everyone got to Diriyah and it got all went wrong. I remember in the commentary, Mark Preston saying about how they looked like they gelled immediately and how good that was for a driver and team relationship and how they could be up there for the rest of the season. And Mahindra had potential to be world champions this year, and they threw it away. It just never worked. I think their worst race on memory was Sao Paulo, when it just all sort of fell apart. And it was a couple ones as well with, as you said, Cape Town. But it was all going wrong, wasn't it? It's not surprised to see the two-part ways. We're curious where Lucas ends up if he does find a top ride. Well, he's finding a ride, but not a top ride, because as Kobe mentioned earlier on, according to motorsport journalist, not the singer, Sam Smith, from the race, the 39-year-old Brazilian driver is most likely to return to a team he drove for the first 7 seasons as well. A potential reunition. Right, he's back, basically, possibly, at the Apt squad as well. At the back of the field, they were last year as well, with numerous issues. Apt with power issues, car issues, never seeming to get it back, of course, after they took over from Apt. So it sounds great to have the two dream teams back together again. But as you remember, they finished last in the team's championship, and Mahindra only finished in 9th. So it's not exactly the greatest Jeep up the field. Unless they can produce a more competitive package and make notable gains over the off-season, season 10 could be another long haul for this group. Smith also added an unlikely choice for Grassi is retirement from Formula E, although he'll be 40 at the end of next year. Also, Mahindra confirmed its driver lineup for season 10 earlier this morning, that being Eduardo Mortara and Nick De Vries, who got those 2 seats. Now, interesting to see Eduardo Mortara move ship as well, and not really a surprise to see Nick De Vries back in Formula E after he got kicked out of AlphaTauri mid-season. Now, if you were de Grassi, would you explore the reunion with Apt, or would you take a year away from Formula E, or, third option, retire from the series altogether? And what are your thoughts on the Mortara and De Vries joining Mahindra's squad?
We'll start with that, because on paper that looks like a really good, strong team, doesn't it? Mortara, a perennial race winner, De Vries, former champion. There was a lot of rumours over the last fortnight to 3 weeks that he could be going to WEC with Toyota, De Vries, with Jose Maria Lopez stepping aside. So that obviously isn't happening now. But good to see Nick back, because I'm sure he'll just go straight back in there as if he hadn't left. But we'll see how that pans out when we get to Mexico in January for the start of the season. But on de Grassi, going back to Apt, it makes sense. But as you said, Josh, how bad Mahindra were, Apt just were. They were sort of thereabouts at the end of the season, but it just took them ages and ages to get going. Fraines broke his wrist, didn't he, in the opening round, and just awful from Apt. But they did get back to some kind of pace towards the end. It isn't the same as it was back in the Audi days when Lucas was there before, with Daniel as his teammate. when he was, winning the championship with that team. So is he going to go back there? I think that's probably the most likely option if he goes back anywhere, but there's still plenty of silly season to pan out. Well, we've still got 3 months or so before the first race, 4 months before the first race. So plenty of time for it to settle itself down. Obviously, there'll be testing and whatnot going on before Christmas, but yeah, I think that is the most likely scenario if he gets a seat. If not, will he move into the James Rossiter and a team leading kind of role that would kind of suit him? I feel, but maybe that Brazilian temper may come back in and get him if he's standing at the pit wall. Maybe he can be the Brazilian Toto Wolff, smashing up headsets in the pit lane.
That would be really funny. Got a comment here from Justin Nicholson that Mahindra will have two great drivers. Totally agree with that. But can they deliver a good car? We'll have to see how that goes. And you also said they haven't been near the championship, level since Felix Rosenqvist left for IndyCar. Yeah, that's very true. Man, Mahindra's been on the decline in the last few years, and this past season was not great at all, as we've already alluded to. Yeah, I think it's a great idea to get drivers like Eduardo Mortara and Nick DeVries in the seat. I think that's a really good driver lineup. But if Mahindra cannot make a big gain over the offseason and hit the ground running with a much better car than what they had this last season, 2024 could be a very long season for the entire team, and it won't matter how many good drivers you have in your lineup there. But in looking at Lucas Di Grassi, going to app, that I don't really know if you would consider that an upgrade, maybe a downgrade, since Mahindra, where he was, second to last in the team's championship, and then at the very bottom app. So I guess maybe like right on the same level. Yeah. So if Lucas Di Grassi still wants to continue into Formula E into his 40s, maybe you sign a 1-year deal with app and try to get a more competitive seat heading into the 2025 season. But I'm not sure if Lucas Di Grassi, wants to continue to struggle after this last season. And 2024 could very well be the same story if he ends up having a reunion with app, because this app team is not the same since Audi was in the sport. So that a lot has changed. This team hasn't really shown that they can be competitive, but a lot of things can change over the offseason. Maybe they'll make some really good changes with the car, and Di Grassi will be able to have a much better season than what he had this year. I'm not sure if he'd take a sabbatical or anything like that, or retire, because it really seems like he still has the fire burning inside of him.
And the preseason testing for season 10 takes part next month in October. We'll bring you all the latest here on the Grid Network. Now, our colleagues on Grid Live Encore already discussed this topic. Now it's our turn to react to the 2024 Entity IndyCar Series schedule. Now, the 2024 calendar will see 17 points-paying races and an exhibition event. Now, once again, the season gets underway as well. I'm sorry, the script's gone. Once again, the season gets underway on the streets of St. Pete, followed by the $1 million challenge and all-star race at the Thermal Club. Long Beach, Barber, IMS Road Course, and the Indy 500 remain unchanged. Missing in action is the Texas Motor Speedway. No mile-and-a-half track will be on the schedule, and only one super speedway and 3 short ovals. Detroit and Road America remain on the schedule. Laguna Seca is no longer the season final, moving to June 23rd. Then we have Mid-Ohio, followed by the Iowa doubleheader, which will see the Saturday show become a night race. Yay for Europeans. The streets of Toronto on July 21st will be the final IndyCar race before going on a break due to NB Sports coverage of the 2024 Summer Olympics in Paris. IndyCar action returns nearly a month later on August 17th. Happy birthday in advance to Mum. For the return of the night race at Gateway, 2 night oval races in 2024. Brilliant. Portland moves from Labor Day weekend to August 25th. After that, the Milwaukee Mile is back with a double header weekend. Now, as previously announced, the 2024 season will end on a revised layout of the streets of Nashville. Ben, Brandon, and Jackson were very critical of the new schedule on Grid Live Encore, and the graphic courtesy there of IndyCar themselves. Are you guys also feeling unimpressed with that schedule?
Yeah, I have to agree with that, guys on the Grid Encore team. Yeah, looking at that schedule, it's really hard to get excited about that, because I know, like, for last handful of years or so, the schedule has really become stale. It's like the same old. We're not going to different tracks. It would be nice to be able to rotate tracks, and with the way the schedule is laid out, you have gaps. That's why I don't understand why IndyCar didn't start the season with their all-star race. Kind of, yeah, like in NASCAR when you have the Busch Light Clash at the beginning of the season, or if you see in other sports, they'll have their all-star game in the middle of the season, or after a handful of events, not even the midway point yet, or like the NFL that always did with the Pro Bowl at the very end of the season. I think that would be more reasonable for you to have your $1 million challenge and all-star race. It's kind of strange to me, as as we're looking at the schedule right here, that you're going to have the season opener at St. Pete, and then you have your exhibition race, non-points paying event, and then you come back on the streets of Long Beach with your second points paying event. So, and then you have a large gap there, and there's nothing you can really do about the Summer Olympic Games. That's obviously going to be the number one priority for NBC Sports, and rightfully so. But still for IndyCar, it has to be frustrating, to have that gap. So I guess we can call that the IndyCar summer break there, that are going to be out of action for almost an entire month. Really glad to see the Milwaukee Mile back on the schedule, especially a doubleheader race weekend. So we get an additional oval race there. But a lot of people are going to be looking at the absence of Texas Motor Speedway. We're not going to have a 1.5 mile track on the schedule. Yeah, and looking at something that they said on the Encore show on Monday night, we're doing a disservice to all these young drivers coming up on the road to Indy, because they're not going to get that quote unquote super speedway experience before you're heading into the Indianapolis 500. I felt that having Texas Motor Speedway before the Indy 500 was very helpful for these cars in this super speedway aero kit to get used to how the cars handle on this style of track. And outside of the Indy 500, if we're just going to short ovals, yeah, that's all great and all, but if you want to really prepare those guys, to compete in the greatest spectacle of racing, I think it's very important that you really need to have them getting some experience on those 1.5 miles in those bigger tracks. So yeah, really disappointing to see Texas Motor Speedway fall off the schedule.
Yes, I agree, Kobe, with what you said there, and agree with what Ben Brandon and Jackson said on Monday. It's just a bit flat, isn't it? I mean, Milwaukee coming back is good. The second Indy Grand Prix going away is kind of good, because I don't like. I mean, we have it in British touring cars here where we would go to the same track twice in a year. Like we went to Thruxton a couple of times a few years ago in British touring cars. I was like, oh, we're going to Thruxton again. Why can't we go somewhere different? But there's so many holes in this that we could pick through. I don't like double headers. I don't think it's necessary. You just, adding, it's a bit like the F1 sprints and MotoGP sprints. We're just having more without it being different, which I don't like. Matthew Owen says very disappointed by the IndyCar schedule. Here's another thing that's bugged me, and they talked about it on. Let's just bring this comment in from Astral Police. Good, hello to you. Oh my God, I went to Texas for my first in-person IndyCar race earlier this year. Was my favorite race of the season. What an absolute letdown. Sounds like, and we get to see the NASCAR schedule, that the date of what would have been the IndyCar race may perhaps be the Cup Series race in the spring at Texas, in that April kind of area where the IndyCar race was the last couple of years. So we'll wait to see what happens when the NASCAR schedule finally gets released in the next couple of weeks' time. But back to my point I was about to make, you could pick holes in this schedule all over the place. We come out of St. Pete on, what was it, March 10th, opening race of the season. And I can hear Lee Diffie now saying, I don't know, for instance, Joseph Newgarden wins the race. He's the points leader. Come back in a couple of weeks for something that doesn't matter at the Thermal Club, or wait 5 weeks for another crown jewel race of the IndyCar Championship, but it's not on NBC, it's on USA at Long Beach, which is just silly. Why that isn't on big NBC when they don't have NASCAR at that time of year? There's got to be something that's going to be on big NBC, because if it's a rerun of something, then that's just disappointing. 2 races on, not that it matters to me and you, Josh, but 2 races on Peacock for the American audience. And it's the Canadian race as well. It's good for you, as we mentioned before we went on the air. But the Toronto race not being on unless you've got Peacock is really strange. It's a letdown and rumours that the Argentina may still be added. I personally want to see points races, not non-points events. Yes, I agree, Joe. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago when we had the Thermal Club announcement that the Argentina thing may or may not happen, but it's not on that list. So is it happening or not? I guess we'll find out over the next little while. But yeah, just IndyCar's been great the last couple of years, and I just saw that and went, ugh. It's just an announcement because everyone was going, oh, we're going to get IndyCars. When's it going to come out? Oh, it's coming out. Oh. It was a bit like that. Just disappointing.
It is very disappointing, isn't it? Speaking of disappointment, the 2024 MotoGP calendar was also released today provisionally. 22 races in 18 different countries. Start on again on the 10th of March in Qatar before going off to Portugal, then heading over to the Americas side with Argentina, then the Americas Grand Prix, back over to Europe for Spain, France, Catalonia, Italy, and then it all rounds off with Kazakhstan taking back as well on round 9 before the Netherlands going in to Germany the same day as the British Grand Prix, that is, by the way, for Formula One. Then into month's break before its British Grand Prix on the 4th of August. Then Austria, Aragon returns to the calendar once again as a main event with 4 races in Spain. San Marino takes over as our last European race before we'll go to our Asia side with India. Then a week later, Indonesia. A week later, Japan. A couple of weeks later to Australia, then to Thailand, and then to Malaysia. And then, of course, the season rounds out on the 17th of November in Valencia. Also interesting to note that there's a couple of reserve events there as well. In case Kazakhstan can't take place, Hungary at Bolton Park Circuit is the backup event in case anything can't take place as well. But behind the mic says, I'm sure that slot will be filled by some kind of Olympic build-up event, something that could be put on Peacock or, heaven forbid, the NBC Olympic channel. Yes, exactly that. But would be nice if they brought Indy back to COTA in the future. They're going to rob us of Texas Motor Speedway. Yeah, I think that was the plan, wasn't it? If we lost Texas Motor Speedway, we'd get COTA, but something's gone wrong there. But Matt, what's your initial reaction to next year's Indy schedule? Mine's pretty much the same as last year. Too long, too many boring races, and why forbid are we still doing it?
MotoGP, you mean, rather than Indy? Yes.
Yeah.
Too many races. Those 2 triple headers at the end of the season. It's about to start, or he's in the midst of now, isn't it? Because we just had India, now we're going to Motegi this weekend, as you see behind you. And Josh, if you just move slightly to your left, I think you'll find your out of track limits just there. And that's going to be a long upload for you.
They're going to block me again. They've already blocked me once. So what am I going to do? I'll get back on the track.
Yeah, get away from Freddie Spencer. Will give you a long lap penalty. Again on IndyCar, on the MotoGP schedule. Good to see Aragon back, although I would like to see that in race in place of another of the Spanish rounds. I know it's a huge market, but I'm not sure why we need 4 in Spain.
Yeah, I don't like Valencia. I'm saying I don't like it.
Yeah, it's too late in the year. 17th of November is too late for a European race.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, looking at that calendar as well, you mentioned how we're starting this year with it. I'm not looking forward to the next couple of weeks because you're going to see me slowly get more and more tired and more stressed. And looking at that alongside the F1 calendar and the NASCAR and the IndyCar, you just think, is anyone going to learn? It's too much. I mean, I know we're rushed for time and I'm rushing myself here, but I would scrap from that. Get rid of Portugal, get rid of Argentina, get rid of Spain, get rid of Catalonia, get rid of Kazakhstan. It was a boring layout anyway, and we've tried on the game. Aragon's fine. Get rid of India, even though the race was good. The logistics are a nightmare. Indonesia is rubbish. Get rid of that. Japan's all right. Australia's okay. Thailand's rubbish. Get rid of that. Malaysia's all right. And Valencia, get rid of that. There you go. Whittled it down to 16 races? Easy peasy.
Especially with 2 races with the sprint on Saturday. Yeah, I know.
Right, okay. Matt, over to you then. Save us with Grid EPI update from Calendar Chat.
Big weekend of Grid EPI this weekend just gone. We'll start in Germany where the penultimate round of the Nürburgring Langstrecke Series took place on Saturday afternoon. Christian Krognes and Kubica Maziak making another win for BMW and stomping their mark on the championship. One more race to come on the Nordschleife in a couple of weeks' time. Just across the border at the Red Bull Ring, the DTM had their penultimate round. Kelvin van der Linde and Rene Rast getting the victories. One more round to go for the DTM in a couple of weeks' time at the traditional Hockenheim finale. ADAC GT Masters was in support, and after a couple of people got pinged for track limits, they lost out on first and second. So the car that finished third in the first race actually took the golden trophy. That was Maxime Ouston and Bruno Spengler. Michael Juice and Christian Engelhardt won the Sunday race. Over in the States at Sebring, the latest couple of races for the GT World Challenge USA, Madison Snow and Jan Halen won on Saturday. Samantha Tan and Neil Verhagen won on Sunday, although that race is under appeal because they were thrown out for a technical. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. But good to see Samantha Tan getting a win on the road. We'll see if that sticks or not. The final races of the Asian part of the GT World Challenge at the weekend were at Sepang. Andrew Harrianto and James Yu won on Saturday, and Wee Lu and Patrick Pile won on Sunday. But Anthony Liu took home the trophy on his own because he's had a couple of different co-drivers throughout the season. So congratulations to him. He is the standalone GT World Challenge Asia champion for 2023. And just to round off quickly, the ELMS was at Spa. We talked about Kevin Simpson last week. He got his second win in the ELMS on the year, teaming up with Alex Lynn and James Allen. No, not the Formula One commentator, the other one, the Australian LMP2 driver. They won the race overall and in LMP2. In Pro-Am LMP2, it was Alexander Quagny, Nicolas Lapierre, and Malfi Jakobsen getting the win. In LMP3, Adrian Schiller, Marcus Sever, and Alejandro Garcia won for the third time this season. And in GT, Matteo Cairoli, Claudio Schiavone, and Matteo Cressoni got the win there. So here's the updated point standings on your screen. There's been a little bit of shuffling. Felipe Leza was actually in action during the NLS race. Didn't expect him to start another race this year, and they came third. So he stays fourth in the championship. He improves his score slightly, but does stay in third position. This weekend coming up, we have the last race of the European GT World Challenge. They're at Barcelona for the last of the endurance races, and that is the only GT Grid Endurance Performance Index race coming up this weekend. So there'll be a short update next week, but we will have some more champions to crown. Now it's time to go back to Kobe with the rest of the news.
Thanks, Matt. And now here's some more motorsports news from around the world. If I can find on the script, which has disappeared on there, it is. 2 NASCAR Xfinity Series regulars will be competing in this weekend's Truck Series race at Talladega Super Speedway, with Xfinity having an off weekend. Front Row Motorsports added a second trunk for Brett Moffitt. That'll give Zane Smith, who is currently 14 points below the cut line, a drafting partner for the unpredictable race. Moffitt previously drove for Front Row in the Cup Series, and he's going to get a chance to compete for a win and good equipment. Over at Rackley WAR, Chandler Smith will drive the number 25 Chevrolet Silverado at Talladega after parting ways with defending Talladega race winner Matt DiBenedetto. They'll announce he'll drive the truck at Homestead in Phoenix at a later date, graphic courtesy of Front Row Motorsports. In 2024, Sammy Smith is replacing Josh Berry at Junior Motorsports in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. Smith, a Toyota development driver, Laser Manufacturing, Joe Gibbs Racing to drive the number 8 Chevrolet with sponsorship from Pilot Flying J, the same sponsor that supported former JRM driver Michael Annett, plus TMC Transportation and Allstate Peterbilt Group will also be sponsoring Sammy Smith. Dale Earnhardt Jr. said Smith is a great fit for that program and thinks he'll mesh well with his teammates. The already confirmed lineup of Sam Mayer, Justin Allgaier, and Brandon Jones, graphic courtesy of Junior Motorsports. Hendrick Motorsports is going to enter the number 17 Chevrolet in 2 additional NASCAR Xfinity races this season, starting with the Charlotte Roval race. Longtime road course ringer Boris said will get a great opportunity to drive a competitive car. Said told Kelly Crandall from Racer.com that this will definitely be his final race in NASCAR if he does well. And I know in recent years, Boris said, keeps saying that, that this is going to be my last time in NASCAR, but he keeps coming back. Even if he does well in this race, I'm not so sure if I believe him. Also, HMS will fill the same car at the season finale at Phoenix for young Raja Karuth. In his second season in the NTT IndyCar Series, Andretti Global signed Kyle Kirkwood to a multi-year contract extension. Kirkwood got his first 2 IndyCar wins on the streets of Long Beach and Nashville. Despite finishing 11th in the standings, there's a lot for Andretti to be excited about when it comes to Kirkwood's potential as a driver. Kirkwood said his goal to consistently compete for wins and become a strong championship contender. He's also excited to get to work with the same group of people, something he hasn't really been able to do since his karting days. Graphic courtesy of Andretti Global. Maserati MSG Racing confirmed its Formula E driver lineup for season 10. Max Gunther, he's back with the team, but he'll have a new teammate to replace him in Mahindra and Walter Mortar. Longtime Formula 2 driver Jahan Deruvula will make the switch to Formula E. Deruvula recently served as a test and reserve driver for Mahindra this past season. Now he'll get to compete in the championship as a full-time driver after his fourth full season in FIA Formula 2 competition. Photo courtesy of Maserati. With GMS Racing shut down operations at the end of the year, Daniel Dye will continue to compete in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series in 2024, but with McAnally Hildeman Racing. Dye intends to continue driving the number 43 Chevrolet Silverado with sponsorship from Race to Stop Suicide. He's looking forward to using what he learned in his rookie season with GMS and grow from the experience in his sophomore season. McAnally Hildeman Racing is having a breakout 2023 season, with Jake Garcia having some good performance and Christian Eckes winning multiple races en route to this deep playoff run. Graphic courtesy of the team. Now I'm going to throw it over to Matt White for everyone's favorite game. Pick a winner.
Yeah, a couple of pick a winners to do on the show tonight, and then the rest will be on social media as normal. And we're going to start in the background of Josh's green screen tonight, as Alex, there you go, on the screen there, has overhauled Kobe and now has a 5-point lead on him. We'll start with that MotoGP sprint race, which is stupid o'clock for us Europeans and quite late for you guys in the States as well on Saturday. I'm going to continue to ride with the man that keeps winning me points, and he got me one on Saturday, and it's a Ducati circuit because it's go fast in a straight line, stop, turn around in a hairpin, come back the other way. Jorge Martin for Saturday's sprint race.
Yeah, I'm also going to go with Jorge Martin as well for the sprint race in Japan.
Let's see what the conference is going to be on Sunday and Saturday. Sprint racing, yeah, I think Martin's got it in the bag, isn't he? Binder, Miller having off weekends at these type of tracks for last time out, and Bagnaia is still not 100%. Martin's going to bring it open, 13 points to the championship. Yeah, bring it down to just 1, please, going into Sunday, and it'll be worth getting up for the Japanese Grand Prix. So yeah, I'm going with Jorge Martin.
And we've also got WRC back there taking their one and only South American trip for the year in Chile this weekend. They've not been there for a couple of years. This will only be the second event in Chile in the WRC history. I am going to go with Thierry Neuville.
And I believe I'll go with Kali Rovanpera to win in Rally Chile. Next, I'll throw it back over to you, Matt, for Hots and Knots.
Yes, thank you, Kobe. We'll have to rattle through these tonight. Quick Hots and Knots. I was going to mention it, but you've kind of already brought it up, Josh. Hot MotoGP, it's back on again, isn't it, after Bagnaia? Yeah. I don't like to cheer for someone falling off, but Bagnaia's couple of weeks he's had, I know, but we talked about it before we went on air. I'm so far behind on MotoGP, it's not even funny. But the championship's back on, and that's a hot. Also a hot, Oscar Piastri. Brilliant. Thought he was sensational at the weekend at Suzuka. I think that's pretty much my 2 hots.
My 2 hots definitely going for the championship, and also weirdly, because I complained about it last week, the exciting racing we had in India. It was fantastic. That track proving why it was good in Formula 1, it is good in MotoGP. It surprised everybody how good it was. The racing was top tier. But it's also my not. Is the fact is that it was very difficult getting there. The logistical issues as well. A lot of problems that need to be ironed out. So it's sort of a yay, nay. So I think everyone's still in the fence about it, what it was on the weekend. Great Japanese Grand Prix. Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris double podium. I thought that was brilliant. But the knots are quite a few from Formula 1 actually as well. So we'll get onto those in a second. But my overall hot, definitely Oscar Piastri.
I think I've got 2 knots. Both of them from Japan, Suzuka, from the weekend. One, the trophies.
Yeah.
Absolutely unnecessary. Just silly. Why can't we do? Yeah, it's exactly.
Weird.
Just silly. Isn't technology weird? And my second and major knot, Sergio Perez.
Yes,
What's going on?
Don't know.
I mean, his teammate is clear, like dominating the season. He's beating everybody by 0.6 of a second in qualifying. Perez is struggling to get into the top 10. And then in the race, he's running into things, passing up people under the safety car going into the pit lane, although that was probably just a misjudgment rather than anything else, but still coming past people on the exit to try and gain a few positions in the queue when he was clearly behind the rest of the whole queue at the safety car line. And then the whole retirement business, that just needs ironing out massively. As I said I think in our chat and on Twitter at the weekend, they need to just smarten that up. If a driver exits the car for any reason other than under a red flag, he should be out of the race. If you've left your vehicle, you're out.
Yeah, I said something about how maybe they should bring in what they have in it's NASCAR, isn't it? It's the 10-minute rule to get things in as well. But I agree. Something like there needs to be some sort of penalty. Say it's a problem with the rear wing, that's fine. Get that out, get going again. It's going to cost you 5 minutes anyway. But they repaired the entire car. They were 16 laps down, and he went out just to serve a penalty. That's not on. It's not on. No. Another not, AlphaTauri. Why did they not sign Liam Lawson?
Yes.
I mean, that opening lap, he proved to everybody why he should be there. That was brilliant from Liam. He's definitely a hot. But AlphaTauri being a not. And basically, my two. One not was Pierre Gasly getting angry about not playing the team game because Ocon let him through, trying to go Alonso, couldn't do it. So Ocon knew he'd go back through. Gasly overreacted and needs talking to. And second not, how much was that weekend the F1 Civil War? Every single teammate just had to go at each other. I can't remember a weekend like it. Ferrari self-destructed. Mercedes self-destructed. I said in the commentary, Hamilton v Russell down the straight. How 88 was that with Senna v Prost against the wall? It was unbelievable.
It happened immediately. This is amazing.
Yeah, and it was so chaotic. And then the start, everybody blew up with the two Alfa Romeos coming together, causing Albon to lose a wing. Perez involved in all that lot as well. The two McLarens coming to blows at similar times as well. It was just the F1 Civil War. It was unbelievable. And I thought it was a very good race. And Max proved why he's a good racer. He kept out of it, kept clean, and took off. Everybody else, it was just team rivalries. So it was weird.
Yeah, madness. One additional hot, Williams' suspension. How Alex Albon completed the Grand Prix after being vaulted into the air on the run to turn one. And that's not the first time that's happened either.
Third time this year if you count Australia's restart. And one weird one for me. We've got a hot, not weird. I'll have one weird. Could somebody get the mad uncle from turn 2 out of there? Because during the race, you could just see Sebastian Vettel just waving little tiny flags next to his beehole as the cars went by. I kept seeing it at the corner of my eye. I was like, is that Sebastian Vettel? And it was. It was so weird.
That was all cool, like good, but all just a bit strange. That whole B thing with Seb. Been in the news this week as well, which I haven't got to talk about, but that may come out in the wash over the next couple of weeks. A quick additional hot and some self-promoting. Doing the show, I've watched some A1GP, and that's just hot. And A1GP history account will start counting down the races from season 3 on Saturday.
18 years old, of course, now, isn't it?
18 years old this week from the Brands opener.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you, Matt. It won't be long. No, keep your fingers to that pulse. So taking a look at our upcoming schedule, Saturday, Grid Live pre-race, that's at noon Eastern. Sunday, Grid Live wrap-up, that's 90 minutes after the NASCAR Cup Series race at Talladega Super Speedway. Monday, Grid Live Encore, full recap of the Truck Series race at Talladega, ARCA at Salem, and ARCA West at All-American Speedway. Please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for helping us reach the milestone of 740 subscribers now. Now help us reach our new goal of 800 subscribers on the road to 1,000. Don't forget to hit the bell icon to get notifications and follow all of our social media platforms and visit gridranking.com. Take 5 minutes to invest in the Grid Network through Patreon. Join Colin, Mark, Deshelle, Robin, David, and Matthew in investing each month in the Grid Network. And we encourage you to join the amazing group of people who keep us on the air. And once we hit $500 per month, we can start sending our team to the track to cover more races and continue expanding our coverage. Link to all that is in the video description. And if you want to do a one-time donation, click on the Buy Me a Coffee link and get your name on the board and invest as much as you want. Consider buying a specific on-air personality a cup of coffee, and they'll thank you on the year. You can also support us by donating directly to us during our live streams through the Super Chat option. For Kobe Lambert from the Podium Finish, Ben Schneider, and Matt White from Grid Endurance Performance Index, I'm Joshua Birch. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time. Good night.
Thank you for watching us right here on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe and check out some of our other videos, including Life on the Grid, where we interview folks from the motorsports industry. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.